I think it was that space in that neighborhood, but then the process was so long to get there. We did kind of poke around and see what was coming up, and just always went back to that it was that, I think. That's just such a opportunity to get to be where nothing like that's been there before.
Yeah, I think being in amongst the neighborhood like that was pretty unique, and we did look at some other places downtown and everything else, and nothing ever felt the same. And so by the time we kind of exhausted looking elsewhere, then this thing kind of popped back up and hit the ground. We were able to sign that lease, and that was an exciting day. I remember that day really well.
Mm-hmm.
Great businesses don't spring up out of nowhere. It takes grit, perseverance, personal growth, and failure to reach the status of an iconic local business. Welcome back to Season 6 of the Building Bellingham podcast, where we're bringing you 8 more stories of local leaders and how they are building Bellingham. Should we cheers?
Yeah, we should cheers.
Sweet.
Sure.
Well,
Dayna,
Adam, Dayna, we are peer pressuring Adam. Just kidding. Cheers. It's good to have you guys in here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
And this is a straight rye from Doc Swinson's.
It's great.
That's good stuff.
Delicious. It's dangerous. But thank you for coming into the studio. Thanks for making some time. This is Season 6, as you were talking about, Episode 7. I actually got that right for the first time. It was really great to bump into you guys, and we've been coming to your business and been super excited to have you guys put something great there and watch it take off and really start to add value to the neighborhood and just having something there, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for your support. That's great.
So tell us a little bit more, for those that are listening, about you, your background, what led to opening this really cool picnic. Basically it's like an elevated picnic.
Yeah. Something like that.
In a restaurant.
That's the vibe. Or casual, but good. We're trying to hit a level there that's like you want to be able to go somewhere in the morning and get your nice cup of coffee and maybe say hi to your neighbors and have a bite to eat, but then maybe in the evening you're winding it down with a cocktail and same kind of thing. So
Yeah, I think Lakeline had some challenges because we knew we wanted to try to bridge the gap all the way from coffee through midday to evening cocktails. And that sounds romantic and all those things, but it's much easier said than done, I think. Mm-hmm. And so we had to do a lot of kind of thinking as to how to put that together, both from build out, so you can feel like you're sitting in a coffee shop in the morning and feel like you're sitting in a cocktail bar in the evening.
Yep.
And I think we did a good job. And I think really, this whole idea came about way back in like 2021. Since then, we had time to sort of kind of put this thing together. And the idea all along was really just to try to make the end result feel intentional.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Walk me through this. I mean, you guys live in the same area, same neighborhood? You're in Silver Beach?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, Dayna does. When we started the project, I did. I since don't live in that neighborhood anymore, but I still kind of consider it my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So yeah, kids grew up there. We were there for like 16 years.
Right on. Yeah. Being residents in that neighborhood, I mean, there's never really been something. I mean, you've got just down the road, you've got Da Vinci's, which is great sandwiches, Barkley down the hill. You've got the Fork all the way like 15, 20 minutes out in the lake, and there's never been anything right there.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me a little bit more how this, like, have you been brewing on this idea and thinking, God, it would be really great to have if somebody else did, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, that somebody else is us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Silver Beach Grocery is such a iconic spot. Everybody in the neighborhood goes there. The kids all go there. It was kind of the one piece of real estate that existed for commercial until these spaces opened up. But I'd always kind of had my eye on it, like that neighborhood needs that, or that's something that's a spot. But, it doesn't happen until it can happen. So it came available in 2021. Mm-hmm. A lease sign went up. I immediately saw it, was excited about it. Adam texted me.
Yeah, it was just one of those kind of happenstance drive by and like, oh, wow. And like the first person I thought of was Dayna. And I texted her, and I said, what do you think? And she said, absolutely. And I think she had thought in the years past more about the idea of having a brick and mortar restaurant than I had ever done. But yeah, the two of us together, I think we have a good skill set of one of us on that side and one of us kind of doing some other things to kind of get this thing to fruition.
Mm-hmm. What are those skill sets that you like? What do you guys both bring that complement each other's, blind spots or strengths?
I think I have a little bit more of like the restaurant operational side of things. Adam has great business skills, people skills, appreciation for good food, good drink. I think we both have that. And just the jumping in, willingness to take a risk.
Tell me a little bit about that, because a lot of people think about it, but a very small percentage of people do it. And then of that group of people, there's a lot of people that do it and don't do it well, or, very small percentage that stick around for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think there's one thing to have the idea, and there's a whole other thing to actually pull it off, both financially and all the other things that go with it. But I think it's just the commitment, because I think people maybe just sit and wait and say, oh, I hope someone does that, like you said, and at some point you are that person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it worked out well. I mean, my day gig, my real gig is I'm a land surveyor, and I work in civil engineering. So some of the build-out stuff and the permitting stuff kind of fit a little bit as to what I wanted to do and what I was able to contribute. And then from a design standpoint, we had a ton of people help us and kind of guide us. But it was nice that Dayna and I got to make all the decisions from day one, right or wrong, I guess. Yeah.
So a lot of opinions, or a lot of good perspectives is awesome, right? You have all these people that have different skill sets and different perspectives. How did you find the balance of like, okay, that's too many opinions and too many different perspectives versus like not enough? Yeah. How did you know what to listen to?
Yeah, you kind of have to choose to not listen sometimes, because everybody will tell you what they think should happen. But I think that we had a very similar kind of design idea or kind of feel for things, how it should look. So that was really nice. That was nice to not have any conflict there. But yeah, people will tell you all sorts of stuff, and I think just having a point of view about it and sticking with it is really important.
Yeah, I think I mentioned the intentionality that was kind of the overriding thing. And anytime we got to a point where we didn't know what to do, or we didn't necessarily know which way to go, I kind of leaned on the idea that we just want this to feel intentional, and so we're not going to compromise on this and that. Part of that, it was great because it was such a small space that we kind of got to make it be exactly what we wanted to, and it wasn't a very large scale, so it kind of let us get our arms around it a little bit. That was kind of nice. Yeah, and it was just us. Like I said, we didn't have to check with anybody on what we were going to do. It was kind of us, or our way or the highway. So yeah, it was good.
That can be good and bad, right?
Yeah.
But it turned out good, so that's awesome. When you're saying intentional, tell me a little bit more about like what was the intention? Like what was the intention around it? What was the design? What did you want people to feel? What's like the experience that you wanted to have when you walked in your own place that you wanted somebody else to have?
Yeah.
I think first we wanted to have kind of a nod to the neighborhood, but not be too corny about it, not make it too lake, live, love, lake.
Live, love.
But there's some really cool history in that neighborhood. That's part of the name. Lakeline was the name of the streetcar line that went from downtown Bellingham up to the amusement park that existed there in
amusement park?
1906. There was a really cool amusement park there.
Bring it back.
I know, it's amazing.
on, yeah.
Yeah. That was, when we were first trying to figure out what we wanted to even call it, we did a little research and went down and looked at photos at the museum and went through all sorts of info to kind of figure out where we could tie in the neighborhood feel, but also, make it our own.
Yeah, Silver Beach has a crazy history. That whole idea that there was a amusement park with, roller coasters and dance hall and all that happening out there in the 19-teens was pretty crazy. And the streetcars that served it is cool. And we wanted to have, like Dayna said, a little bit of a nod there, but not go too far. So if you go into Lakeline and you go in, there's just a couple little photos on the wall with a couple little plaques that kind of talk about what that is. But yeah, that's where it came from. I think a lot of people go in and they don't know that that's what that's about, and that's not really the point. But it was important for us to start with kind of that history, I think.
And the people that know, they're like, oh, the Lakeline, the amusement park, they know the whole history. Yeah. What were some of the names that didn't make it? If you're just trying to give a nod.
Yeah.
And I think you did it. I mean, it's subtle, but it's also a nod, right?
Yeah.
Were there some that were?
Do you remember?
Boy. I have to go back. There was a lot of names that didn't make it.
Yeah.
I don't know that they were necessarily historic, but I think, there was the standard North Shore and Silver Beach, this or that kind of a thing. But yeah, that was kind of the wading through. We met with Jeff Jewell, who's a curator at the museum, and wading through just stacks and stacks of photos and everything. Kind of, we left there with lots of notes and kind of hashed through them all. And yeah, Lakeline just kind of felt right. I think this whole process with Dan has been great. I've been really, happy to be able to do it. It's just all of it's happened sort of just the way it's supposed to happen, and it's just been a great process. And the name was kind of the same thing. It just presented itself.
Fell into place, yeah.
Yeah.
So when someone walks in the door, they notice the nod, maybe not, but if they know Silver Beach, they know that. Mm-hmm. What's the elevated picnic? It's not super heavy. Like you guys don't have this like super intense, robust menu, but you have like things that you do really, really well, and it's never something that you're walking out of there feeling, unless you eat like 12 of the avocado toast or like whatever or you eat all the pickle dip or trout dip. Or tell me a little bit more about like the person that maybe comes there to put their laptop up and have some coffee, or what is that person experiencing
As far as the menu?
Yeah.
So morning we do a great little breakfast sandwich, and we try to use some local. We've got water tank bread, we've got Ralph's pretzel rolls, we do those toasts, which are like a smoked salmon toast or avocado toast. We have pastry from Mount Bakery and Lamination Station. So yeah, you can always get beautiful coffee, and our beans are from Hammerhead.
Nice.
They do a great job. Yeah, excellent. So that's kind of our morning fare. We always make a fresh olive oil cake every day.
Ooh.
That's kind of good.
I haven't had that one yet.
Play around with that a little bit. We can give everybody a chance to be creative on the team and switch it up. And then as we go into lunch, we've got a couple salads, some sandwiches, tuna melt. We've got a brie and salami on a pretzel roll. Those dips, smoked salmon dip, and we've got a tapenade now, the pickle dip. Cocktails, got a nice selection of cocktails that are not too far off classics, but we do a little twist. We've got a Diving Girl cocktail. Mm-hmm. That's kind of our if you come in, you're going to notice the Diving Girl on the wall, and that's really our big nod to the lake.
Form. Yeah, my form is not that good. I'm more of a splash guy. Right. Yeah.
Adam designed the Diving Girl and drew her out and built that sign, which is really kind of the showpiece of the store. So
yeah, I think that part of the amusement park situations, they had some sort of high dive with a diving woman that would do this routine back in the day. So that was a little bit part of kind of where that came from. And then I think the overall kind of vibe, we both kind of gravitated to the kind of a mid-century-ish. And so we found some old stuff, we found some new stuff, and we were able to kind of incorporate that. But yeah, the Diving Girl was kind of another one of those kind of a little bit of a happy accident, honestly. Like we were looking for kind of like, what do we want it to look like? And I was looking online and I found a neon sign that was for sale on eBay from some hotel in Palm Springs from like the 50s or 60s.
I can already visualize it.
And I was like, that's cool, but we can't afford that. And so we came up with kind of a stylized version of that and kind of leaned into that. And it's been great. It's been a great kind of little icon for us.
Yeah. You kind of alluded throughout the conversation so far to like when you're starting a business, some people have all the money in the world and they have maybe no intention, and then you have people that are somewhere in the middle that have a little bit of money, and you have people that just bootstrap it. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about bootstrapping, and like I know it's kind of this like cliche term in business, but I feel like a lot of people go into business thinking that they need to have everything perfect, and they need to hire this person, and they need to sub this out, and they need to. But a lot of the times, especially if you have a smaller space, you can do a lot of that yourself, right?
Yeah. And we definitely did. I mean, the demo, we did all the demo for the build out ourselves. Lots of nights in there, doing floors and ripping drywall out and doing all this stuff. And yeah, absolutely. I think it's just good to show that it still is, of all the other stuff, it still is just kind of hard work that gets it done, really. So yeah, we did a little bit of both, and we were fortunate enough to hire some great people to help us. We had Alexei Ford do the build, and they did a great job. So it wasn't like we were doing the full build ourselves, but we were definitely hands-on doing as much as we could before we turned it over to the pros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really small space, so it was literally like measuring out a table and then a walkway and then another table, and can we get a couple inches here, and can we add this to the bar, and
down to the inches.
Yeah, because we needed it all. So yeah, intentional.
How has that been so far? Because every time I've been in there, it's been busy, but also I don't know if like I know you guys are doing great and things are moving really well, but sometimes it's the space. And tell me a little bit about like managing the space if on days that you guys are like really busy and people come in and they're, you know, that want to dine in. What is that
Yeah.
space restriction been like for you?
Well, it's really nice when the weather's nice because then we have some outdoor space that gets used. We've got the side where we can have cocktails out there and then the front, which is great. It seems to work pretty well. I mean, it kind of, our weekends in the mornings, it might be, you might have to wait a minute, but usually it's not too crazy. And yeah, it's a good, I think people are kind of realizing when our busy times are, and that everybody's super patient if it's not a table ready immediately.
I think the layout too was as much to do with our staff being able to move and stuff. We got a really small kitchen and a small little bar area, and being able to have, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 staff serving this little thing was great. And like Dayna said, we made decisions that were literally like just making things 3 inches wider that made a big difference.
Yeah.
To
Get
kind
creative.
of get
Yeah.
us get us where we got. Yeah.
You have these moments where you're starting to learn the trends of when you're the busiest. It sounds like probably Saturday, Sundays. Maybe is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just mainly Saturday, Sunday?
Busier as the week goes along.
Progresses. Yeah. Are you finding that most of the people that are coming in are just pretty local to Silver Beach, or are you starting to see a pretty good draw coming in from other areas, or it's just like all over the board?
Yeah, not necessarily. We have our regulars that we see that we know are from right in the neighborhood or where they come from. We've got a lot coming from Geneva or down the hill. So yeah, pretty much everywhere, but there's definitely a lot of neighborhoods people. Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting to do a few events too. Like we've got a wine club going, so we've had just a few of the first versions of those things. So a wine club, we've had like 1 wine tasting. We're gonna have more. Just last night we had our first trivia night.
How was that?
So yeah, it was good. It was great. We did a cocktail trivia, and that was kind of fun. So we did like 5 rounds of trivia, and each round had something to do with a little cocktail that you got. And so the questions were based on the cocktail. So it was kind of cool. And a couple of our team kind of ran it, and it was kind of their thing. And they were all excited about doing it. So it was fun.
They did amazing. It was really fun.
Do you guys? This is always the big question, is because I know that events draw more people in, right? But at the same time, they can also cost a lot and not necessarily, you know, grow the business. And I know that, you know, Jesse and Adam at Overflow dealt with that. They had one year where they did more events than I could even count, and they're like, we just basically broke even, but our clientele grew. And tell me a little bit more. Like, are you excited to do more events, or are you like, this is the clip that we're going to stick with? People like the clip. We're good with this. What are you like? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, the events are pretty new for us. We kind of waited. We didn't jump right into those. But I think that anything that brings somebody new in because they want to come try out trivia night or something like that is great. I think it's really fun. And it's a fun way to meet your neighbors, too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the same thing. I think we have some ideas about what our next 2 events would be, and I don't think it'll be something that is a massive part of Lakeline's program, but I think having those things is great. And so far, everything, you know, those type of things have been well received, and we have a few more ideas for a few more things.
You know, drawing people in, but also, you know, not rushing into anything. If like in the next couple of years, I mean, you're in your 2nd year now. Mm-hmm. Do you have some ideas on things you want? Like, are you going to just stick with what you're doing and say, we're going to keep doing it really well? Or do you have plans to continue to refine and grow? I mean, where are you guys at after your first year? I mean, it's really exciting to be through the first year.
Yeah. That's amazing. And we've learned a lot. And we've learned like the patterns, what happens during the day and the week, and kind of what we should expect seasonally a little bit. I think we'll consider that going forward with events. But I would like more things that are, events like that where everybody can come on in. It is fun, especially in the winter. I think it's nice to have something to do, get out of the house.
Outside, yeah.
When it's dark, cold. But yeah, I'm enjoying just figuring out. I don't know what to do, so we're figuring out what to do. Trivia is fun. I'd like to do a couple other things too. Bingo, whatever. We'll see.
Bingo would be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Maybe some mahjong.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had some few ideas. I mean, and again, you get ideas thrown at you from people too that have their ideas too, and so you get that stuff too. So yeah, we've heard lots of them, and so it'll be kind of nailing down the same thing we've done with Lakeline since day one, is just being real focused and nail that down and have those events, but not get spread too thin and not be at the point where we're putting stuff out and then taking it back. Mm-hmm. We want to just keep putting it out slowly and as opposed to getting over our skis.
The slow growth, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm there now, but didn't start that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I envy anyone that says we're going to do this intentionally and we're going to do this, slow growth, and yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Taylor. This year, I'm joining the show as co-producer, but for the last 3 years, I've directed our team's other community platform, Live Bellingham Now, where we highlight new local businesses, try out iconic favorites, and keep you in the know about all the things happening in the city of subdued excitement. Check us out on Instagram or Facebook, and be sure to subscribe to the monthly newsletter.
You're a surveyor?
That's right. Yeah.
And you alluded also to a previous world. You had opened a TCBY, is what you'd said?
Menchie's. So I'm the co-owner of the Menchie's in Bellingham.
Right on.
So we have the Lakeway location, and we used to have Bakerview location. That one's closed. So I've been doing that for about 13 years now.
Tell me a little bit more about that history with get into the food world and
Yeah.
franchise and all the things.
I'd always, prior to Menchie's, I'd kind of dabbled throughout my life in food-related or hospitality-related jobs or interests. Menchie's was something that I took my kids to. I was living in Mukilteo, took my kids to, and they got that spoon. And I was like, oh, look at that. What's this? And my husband at the time had gone to school at Western and wanted to move up to Bellingham. So we decided to give it a shot, put a pin in Bellingham, open that Menchie's. And that was 13 years ago. So it's been a really fun experience.
It looks like it's a revolving door.
Yeah.
It's going.
Yeah, it's fun. I'd never done a franchise, hadn't considered it. Menchie's is great as far as a franchise. They really are set up well. It's been awesome time. Great, it's frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, got to be happy about that. So,
Yeah.
But also great learning experience for Lakeline.
Right.
And that's the difference. Lakeline is really something that, a franchise is prescribed and it's
Right.
set up, and you don't have a lot of creative input into that. And that's what's been so great about Lakeline, is that it's totally opposite.
How do you split your brain between the two worlds? I mean, it's in the same bubble, right? But it's really two different brains.
I guess, yeah. It's fun. I mean, that's what I love about Lakeline, is it's just like from the start, to get to decide what it's going to look like, to get to decide the menu, to just everything. That's been really a treat.
You said you moved from Mukilteo. Are you from Bellingham?
I came to school at Bellingham. I went to Westerns. I've been here since 90. I consider myself as local. I've been here since 91.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of people that didn't necessarily grow up here, including myself, but we ended up just sticking around for some reason. Wait,
Yeah.
no, it's an awesome place. That's why. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So what got you to stay here, and what brought you up here? Tell me a little bit more about the draw to Bellingham.
So I graduated from Western, and I actually got a job, a construction-related job, which is what led me into land surveying. So that one thing led to another, and there you go. And it's been great. My company's Pacific Surveying and Engineering, and I do that with a few partners, and it's been great. It's it's very corporate and very different than Lakeline, and I think maybe just the timing was great for Dayna and I both. We just were both ready for something else, and so we were able to keep our day job, so to speak, and then turn much of our focus, some days all of our focus, to Lakeline for a few years to do that, and it's been great. I'm really happy that it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, what do you guys love about Bellingham? I mean, you're here and
Yeah.
you've stayed here. You came here. You stuck here after college like I did. And what are some of your favorite parts about this place?
Bellingham's great. We moved up here when my kids were pretty little. We live near the lake, and they're always in the water. It's such great. I feel like they're safe. They're running around. They're having a good time. It's beautiful here. The vibe is right. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I grew up in the Northwest, in Seattle and Ballard. Bellingham is a little bit different pace, and I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, college town vibe. It's just the right size. It's got the restaurants you want. It's got the art you want. It's got the outdoors you want. We're 60, 90 minutes from everything. It's just great. Yeah, it's been, when I got done with school, I knew I wanted to stay, and I didn't know how I was going to stay, and it ended up just, taking a construction job, like I said, and one thing leads to another. So I think one of the biggest things about Bellingham is we both have kids that are, late teens, college, finishing high school. I have two kids that are both in school, and to hear them talk about Bellingham to friends and stuff when they go places, and just how proud of it they are to say that they're from Bellingham, just makes me feel really good. And I think it's kind of cool to have our kids be proud of where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really say that. I mean, I'm from Seattle too, and it's a place that my parents are slowly and my family's slowly moving away from, but up here really, and they've just heard me talk about Bellingham since I've been up here. So
Yeah.
yeah. Definitely a lot of pride in Bellingham around being from here and living here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic community. Really
Yeah.
fun to be part of it.
I want to kind of go back to the location just for a minute here. When you were looking, like this was it more location based, or was it something where you guys were thinking, at some point we're going to do this and we're open to these areas? Was it kind of a broader search for the location? Then you go, oh, because I remember I actually looked at the space for an office.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I love this space. I mean, it was too small for us, but I was thinking, wow, this is just, there's plenty of parking. You're kind of in this little bubble where there's nothing else.
Yeah, nothing commercial for sure. I think we both, it was that space in that neighborhood, but then the process was so long to get there. We did kind of poke around and see what was coming up, and just always went back to that it was that, I think. You know, that's just such a opportunity to get to be where nothing like that's been there before.
Yeah, I think being in amongst the neighborhood like that was pretty unique, and we did look at some other places downtown and everything else, and it just nothing ever felt the same. And so by the time we kind of exhausted looking elsewhere, then this thing kind of popped back up and hit the ground. We were able to sign that lease, and that was an exciting day. I remember that day really well.
Did you jump in the lake?
Didn't? That's a good. We should have.
should have.
We didn't jump in the lake.
What if you just did it? Here's another idea for
Oh.
you. What if you did like a polar plunge?
Thought about that.
Yeah, that's not. Is that actually an okay idea?
We do. We had that as an idea.
Okay.
I'll say we got that idea as far as there is in our Canva account. There is a polar bear plunge icon that we never use, but we
Yes.
got that far.
Yeah, it could happen in the future.
Yeah.
Happy to put it together as long as
Anyone
I don't
can-
have to jump in.
Yeah, you'll coordinate it,
Yes,
right?
not jumping in.
And have a cocktail.
Sure.
Yeah, you jump in. Here, we all jump at the same time, right? And then you go, and then everyone else jumps in.
Hot toddies after at Lakeline.
Yeah.
Warm up.
I love it. Yeah. So being in year 2, what does the future look like? What are you guys excited about with where the business is? What are some bigger leap goals that you guys have for the business or for yourselves? And yeah, just curious about, it's very fresh, but it's working. What does that look like?
Off the top of my head, there's one thing that we've kind of been trying to get rolling, and we haven't done it yet, but we can do some canned cocktails. We like to put together for the summer canned cocktail and like to-go food stuff, so you can have your little picnic vibe on the lake or wherever you want to take it. That's on the horizon.
Yeah, we got a can steamer, and we got that all ready to roll out last summer. And last summer was a bit of a whirlwind to the point where we just, again, like I said, didn't want to put that out and have it be too much for us to handle. So that'll be coming this year for sure. So,
Just
yeah.
layering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting. But yeah, that's one of the unique things about Lakeline and the space and everything is that, it's unique and it's got all that it has going for it, but it is a little bit limiting because you talk about like, well, what are your goals? We're like, well, I mean, space-wise, it is what it is, right? And so we just have to kind of keep doing what we're doing and making it be so the community and the neighborhood supports it, and we get a few more of those people coming there from across town and from other areas. I think that's the thing, is to just kind of get the word out so people are coming there as opposed to the people that are in the neighborhood. The neighborhood kind of is,
It's established.
yeah, and they've been great. They've been so welcoming and so thankful that we've done what we've done, and that's been a cool thing. I think one of the coolest things that I've heard it a few times, is people meeting their neighbor for the first time at Lakeline.
Oh, that's rad.
Which is kind of cool. So you overhear it and you're like, oh, I just live next door. I live 2 houses down or whatever. And hearing them having met, because Lakeline kind of provided a little community spot for that, that's been a really rewarding thing to hear.
Yeah, I've lived in Silver Beach for about 13 years, and I've met more neighbors in the last year than I have the entire time I've lived there, even with, kids going to the schools and all that. It's really cool.
All right, we're going to get into something tough. Tell me about the tomato throwers. Because I feel like every restaurant, every business, you're doing something great. You've provided a really great hub for neighbors to meet each other. The food's awesome. The cocktails are awesome. The coffee's great. The vibe is great. But there's people out there that are just unhappy. And I feel like restaurants get just hit the hardest. And I always try, especially if it's a local business owner that I know and I see someone on Yelp or I see someone on Google that throws out something that is a them problem, whatever, it's their thing, they're unhappy with the day, I'm going to jump in and comment and just like throw a tomato back at them for the business owner, because I'm like, nothing to lose here. They don't know who I am here. Yeah. But tell me about how you guys deal with negative feedback as business owners.
I think the first thing is just hospitality is the number one thing. We're there to create an experience for the guests that should be awesome every time, and that's our team making that happen. And we have a great team. Our crew's awesome, and I think that they provide that. And so, as long as we focus on that being a priority, you're still going to get people that aren't happy about anything. There's not a lot you can do about that. I think as long as we kind of keep our attitude right and provide a consistent quality every day, then I don't know. I'm probably not gonna engage too much, but I'm gonna, see what we need to make it happen, to make it better.
Unfortunately, most of that's been pretty positive, but it is kind of a surreal experience going to the first time where you do see that first Yelp review and the first Google review.
Yelp Elite 19
you're
Gold member. You're like, ooh, you just trash people for fun. Yeah.
It's it's a kind of a weird concept to see that, and you get really defensive, and it's easy to get kind of bristly about that. But at the same time, as long as you're doing everything, as best we can, putting our best foot forward, putting out something that we, again, think is intentional and that we're proud of, then I think the rest of it more or less takes care of itself.
Yeah.
How do you keep the consistency with a restaurant? I think there's some restaurants that do very nuanced specials and they're constantly changing things, and that sounds really difficult. Mm-hmm. And then you have the very conveyor belt restaurant that can do the same thing over and over. How do you find your high quality food and drinks but keep it consistent? How do you guys do that? It's not going to be perfectly consistent, but it's going to be pretty damn close, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep that standard? That sounds really difficult.
I think it goes back to the team again, just having people who really care and are excited about turning out a good product and wanting to put the effort in.
Part of it, I think, too, is that because we do the cocktails, so in a sense, most of our staff, almost all of our staff, is 21 plus. So we're getting people who probably have a little bit more experience coming in, but showing them, what this avocado toast needs to look like is important. And I think that's where it's maybe a little bit different as to, making sure that presentation is part of it, and we're hitting that elevated picnic thing that we really want to be, and we're not gonna settle for less than that. And that might take an extra 5 minutes to make your avocado toast, but we're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No one's going to be as excited about what you're doing as you are as the business owner, but how do you get them as invested, maybe as on standards or the experience or having fun, or how do you get them that excited about that?
Yeah, that's kind of the magic, I think, that has to happen. And when it does happen, you definitely know what's going on and the guests can feel it. I think that our crew is tight-knit, and they're all friends, and they all want to perform well and turn something out that they're proud of. And they do know that it has an intentional look to things. I always think, hopefully, maybe you're only going to have one avocado toast that day or whatever it is, and you want it to be special, and you want it to look like somebody took a minute and thought about it, and that you're going to enjoy it. And I think that they've kind of got that idea too.
I think from a food standpoint, Dayna sets a great example because she's in there showing them. It's not like,
go do it.
It's not just telling them. It's I'm actually doing it too and showing them. And so I think that comes across pretty quick. And the culture is great. I mean, the energy that those 20-somethings bring is great for me, especially. It's great for Dayna too. But
you guys are in your 20s, right?
Right.
Hey, you're
barely out of my
3 or 4 years
20s,
older
yeah.
than most of your staff.
Right. Yeah. No, this isn't something. I always say that we as joke, and there'll be some menial task or something that we're doing, and I always will say, this is another thing you can add to the list that I did not think I'd be doing when I was 52 years old, but it's great, Yeah,
we're in there doing some dishes and, all that kind of stuff.
First time I came in, I saw both of you. I don't think we actually met at the time, but I saw both of you, and I kind of figured it out that you guys were the owners and kind of in it because you just opened. It's hard the whole goal is to grow something that will last a long time that you can eventually kind of not be as involved in. But it's so cool seeing business owners that no matter how long they've been in business, whether it's 1 year or 20 years, that are still excited to show up and be engaged with people and the staff, and they really care. So that was really cool to see the first time I came in.
Yeah, I think Lakeline is probably a little bit different in that regard, where I don't know that we'll get to a point where we just hand it off. I don't know if it's that kind of a thing necessarily, but yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting conversation to have, because you're not going to do it forever, but at the same time, you know, you built it and it's kind of hard to turn it loose at the same time, and you want it to be just so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Building Bellingham is a community production of the Bellingham Real Estate Company. We are an independent real estate firm located on Meridian Street. From our data-centric approach to a heavy investment in media and collaboration, we do real estate differently in Whatcom County. Check out Bellingham Real Estate Co reviews on Google, Zillow, and RateMyAgent.com, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions.
Let's talk about time. So you guys have a lot going on, seems like, right? Just between different jobs and businesses and running this thing together. How do you find time for yourselves? What do you do for fun? Like what's is it work? Do you work at Lakeline for fun, or is it more like this is my blocked out time? Because I think a lot of people that own businesses get kind of wrapped up in they get obsessed with the thing doing. I'm not saying obsessed in a bad way, but just it becomes their passion. How do you find time for yourselves? What do you do? What do you do outside of all
I
the
do
things?
think it's fun working there,
Yeah.
but yeah, somebody just recently asked me what my hobbies were, and I was like, oh.
Can you define hobbies?
Yeah, you do have to kind of carve out some time and be intentional about that too, you know? Yeah.
I think Lakeline or any other business is one of those where people ask me about it and I say that it's great, I wouldn't want to do it by myself. And I think that's a major difference of doing a business with someone like Dayna, where we lean on each other a lot and we just know that what needs to get done is going to get done. And that's huge. It's the same way with the other business I'm involved with. I wouldn't want to do that by myself either. I think it makes it more balanced, and it gives you a little bit more time for, you know, the occasional skiing and biking that I do and the golfing that I do more than that, because that's important, and then time with the family and everything else, and just a balance. Go to bed early, get up early, and
Get after it again.
do it again.
Yeah. How has it been for your kids to see you both do this?
They're on the payroll.
Oh, they're on the payroll? Oh, they're at Lakeline on the payroll?
Yeah, both my daughters work there. His son has worked there. It's great. It's actually, I think it's really good for kids to see that, to see their parents make something. And then they are invested. They love, you know, it's awesome for them to have that kind of pride. You see it. And yeah, it's really fun. It's great. I love working with them.
Yeah. Do you ever, this is kind of in the other direction, do you find it sometimes, is it more difficult to give feedback to your kids than the other employees, or do you feel like it's
No.
just like, it actually is really good?
Yeah, no, I think it's really good.
They take the dynamics
Oh,
seriously,
for sure.
and right on.
And they're watching out for you. They're good set of eyes to have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
totally. No.
Yeah, in some ways it would be easier to not do it with them, but we both said that wouldn't be the right way to do it. We want them to look back and feel like they had a part of it, and they won't admit it, but I think they think it's kind of cool that this is a thing, and they get to work there. But they're good kids. It's good for them, and it is really good. They can see, you know, that if you want to do it, you can do it. It's, you know, it's out there.
Yeah, it's really valuable experience. I know a lot of people who don't think they have some sort of dream or some goal, and it doesn't have to be. It can be really a simple thing, and they're afraid to do it because they don't have any experience. So that's so invaluable to your kids, and potentially even more than going to college. Yeah. You know, if they wanted to, you know, just that business experience, understanding the grit, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or that maybe you didn't go to school for this, but you might end up there. That there's all sorts of twists and turns along the way, and just try it, see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's probably lots of other ways to invest and make money and everything else, but I do think that investing our time into a business that's a neighborhood business and local business, and it's tangible, and it's a meeting place, and all the things that it is, just feels a lot more rewarding than it would be to be doing something that was much more passive, I think.
So I have to ask, if you're not going to Lakeline, which I'm sure maybe when you have a moment to go out with friends or, you know, grab a drink or dinner or whatever it is, maybe you're like, hey, let's go to Lakeline. But I'm sure there's other places that you go. Yeah. Tell me, like, what's your ideal night that if you're not going to Lakeline, where are a couple places that you might go and enjoy yourself in Bellingham?
I'm a fan of Red Light. They make a great cocktail. Love the space. Astoria also, good stuff there. Row is awesome.
Just went
addition.
there, yeah.
Go to Hammerhead Coffee Shop a lot in the mornings. Yeah.
El Sonido is one of my favorites.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Love it. That's probably my go-to to start date night or end date night or whatever it is. So yeah, Bellingham's great. I mean, there's lots of, per capita, so to speak, we got a lot of good options, which is part of why I love it.
Hasn't always been that way.
Hasn't always been that way.
Because if you got here, when did you get to Bellingham?
91.
Yeah, there wasn't much.
There wasn't much.
It was, there was some bars and some restaurants that have stuck around and haven't, but it didn't seem like there was much. So, how do you feel about this, like, kind of this growth and this evolution and these? There's obviously some that have closed down, but there's been a lot of really great additions and very different. There's a lot of the same. Like, I mean, realistically, there's a lot of the same, like, breweries. Most of them are great. Good beer, good food, but it's a lot of the same kind of fare. And then there's all these, like, really unique, cool additions, including you guys, to that whole ball of food in Bellingham.
I love it. I think Bellingham could use more. Keep coming. There's some really great spots, but it's always fun to have, as Bellingham grows, some new experiences. Yeah, I'm excited to see where it's going. It looks like new things are popping up, so that's cool.
And I think that was part of the menu development, which is, most of that is really coming from Dayna, but when we worked together on it, we saw that there was a place for it. Not necessarily just the location. We saw there was a place for it regardless of Lakeline's location, for that type of food, that type of menu, that type of bridge between coffee and cocktail. There's a few places we took inspiration from in Bellingham, and we did a lot of research, and a lot of people helped us too. I mean, we met with a few different coffee roasters to kind of come up with what that looked like, and Meredith and Mitchell at Hammerhead were great, and we kind of jive with them right off the bat, and they really helped us kind of understand a lot about it, because we really had a lot to learn. In that regard. And then some of our liquor distributors have been really kind at helping us kind of learn the ropes behind the spirits and the wine and all that. And again, we had a lot to learn there as well.
Kind of looking forward. You guys are, like I said, in your second year. You're going to be here for a long time. We're all excited for you. And if there's anything that we can all do, or anybody listening, by the way, now that you're drooling and you're thinking about the pickle dip or the avocado toast, if you haven't been, you need to go check it out. Get a coffee, or a cocktail and a coffee.
Yeah, why not?
That's type of start to a weekend.
Yeah.
Get some good food. Do you guys also do takeout as well?
Yeah, for sure.
So just, if it's busy, get some takeout. Go down to the beach. Go down to Blodell. Yeah. We're almost there with the weather. We're getting close. Yeah. When do you guys open up the outdoor seating?
It's open all the time. I mean, we had, when those last couple of sunny days, whenever they were, a week ago, we had people sitting outside, and it was great. Yeah, you can get that little shot of the lake down there through the valley, so it's kind of fun.
Please go check them out on Instagram, Lakeline, at Lakeline, right?
Yep.
Are you guys on Facebook as well? Okay, so on Facebook, website, and just go walk in.
Yeah,
just
come visit us.
But we're excited for you guys to stick around for a long time, and just glad you're here. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come in and tell your story. And I hope to stay in touch and hear more about what's going on, and maybe pop into a trivia.
Yeah.
And lose horribly. Really bad.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Cheers.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Building Bellingham is a community podcast produced by the Bellingham Real Estate Company. Our producers and audio editors are Taylor Beal and Tiffany Holden. Social media and video production are by Cooper Hansley and Taylor Beal.